As referee gets this 5th match of the Weber Cup underway, and it's a doubles affair, and it's the big 2 for Europe. Thomas Leandersson, the skipper, and this man here, Torgersen, against Mike Mullin and Dino Castillo. Torgersen, you might have seen earlier, bowl a 299. And he starts off the way he played in that singles match. He's got this lane sorted out, hasn't he, Richard?
Certainly looks that way, Nick, yes. He was absolutely awesome in that first match of his, first singles match. And he was actually perfect in the Baker Fives as well for 2 out of 2. And I think if you ask most people to pick the strongest 2 in the European team, they come out with those 2.
Absolutely right. Michael Mullin, the lefty. The disappointment of a 279 game and losing. He got lucky there, frankly. A bit heavy on the head pin, and could have left himself a split. That's probably the worst ball this young man has bowled in the tournament so far.
Yes, he was definitely just a bit too heavy on the pocket there. Left the almost inevitable 6 pin.
Could have been worse, Richard. As it is, he's got the American football tucked away in his spare ball there. And he handed that over to his partner, Dino Castillo.
I don't think it's a full-size football though, Nick.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. But it reached the end zone.
Good forward pass.
Absolutely. Touchdown USA.
I don't think you'll see any laterals with that one though.
So here is Leandersson. Ooh, Thomas. Well, he hasn't played since that opening game, that Baker, and just a little touch of rust there, perhaps?
Oh, possibly, but he should have been able to work out the lane of his practice shots. I'd be a bit disappointed to leave that one too light. Head pin clipped in front of the 2. Just left the 2-5. Torgersen has to beware of chopping this and just pushing the 2 pin straight through, leaving the 5 pin standing. He'll be trying to hit both pins with the ball.
He does so effortlessly.
Just caught a glimpse of two young ladies who are members of Team England there, interested in this match. Anne Smith on the left, Lisa Gardner on the right, just talking with Tim Mack.
Miko Teampond on the far left, just doing a little bit of the adjustment to the hair. Not a hairdresser in his spare time though, as best I know. Oh then, that's nasty. Mullin allows himself a wry smile, but that's 2 times he's asked his partner to bowl a spare, and he won't be happy with that. And this is a man that was clocking up strike after strike in his singles match. And here he is asking Castillo to do his dirty work again.
Yes, and Dino's got a tricky sleeper here. He won't be going at this with the football. He'll be using his strike ball to minimise the deflection off the front pin.
Happy enough with that. Interesting action, Castillo. We'll have a good look at that next time. It's quite distinctive.
There you see the ball deflecting off the front pin, but the hook power that the strike ball's got just preventing it from deflecting too much and still taking the back pin out.
So here's the Team Europe skipper, Leandersson. That's a bit more like it. Much more like it.
This is a slight over adjustment from his last shot, but he's got away with it. He's a bit heavy on the head pin. Could easily have left the 4 pin standing on this, but you'll see the 4 pin's about the last pin to go. There it goes.
Good mates, those 2, as well as good bowlers. Now then, where's the strike zone gone for Mike Mullin? There it is, back again. Obviously the American has made some adjustments.
And that gives the other American a chance to use something other than his spare ball. So now we're going to find out next ball how good Dino is at striking.
We know how good this fella is at striking. He's barely bowled anything else in the Weber Cup so far. Named after Dick Weber, in case you were interested, who is well, a legend in the business, isn't he? The American ex-player, coach, and revered by all these players here. You mention the name Dick Weber to these people and they are in absolute awe of the man.
One of the all-time greats, and he was in that Hall of Fame long before Leandersson was born, I think.
I think he was there before they built the hall, quite frankly. So a double for Team Europe here. A slight advantage, and as you say, a chance for us to take a look at Dino Castillo. And I'd like to take a look at this fella's action. He almost winds up like a baseball pitcher before he releases it. Very distinctive action. That's not what the doctor ordered at all.
We've seen quite a lot of light hits here. We've seen very high backswing from Dino. Slightly bent arm. Be straightening the arm as he lets go of the ball. Trying to get a little bit more revolution on the ball. But not enough revolution there. Left himself a tricky little spare for
his buddy. These two leaving each other tricky spares and an open frame. That was always going to happen with that one.
Oh, it's a very tricky spare this. You have to deflect the ball off of the front pin onto the back pin. And there's not a lot of margin for error on that, and it is quite easy to slip by that front pin and only take the 7 out, so not totally unexpected, though he would have expected to spare it more often than he didn't. But under the pressure of this situation, they're not quite so easy. Something's just disturbed Thomas there.
It's not bothered Thomas, I wonder.
And we won't let it affect him. He'll just start his preparation all over again.
Well, we've got a cameraman down there, and we've got a camera down there, but he's used to all this then. Something just bugged him. But the net result was another strike for Team Europe, and that's Turkey. 3 in a row.
And I think you've seen an excellent example of what bowlers do with their adjustments. Thomas on his first shot was way too light on the pocket, and he made an adjustment, and he was just a bit heavy on his next shot, although he did trip the 4. He won't want to rely on tripping the 4, so he's made another little adjustment, and that's the best of the 3 that he's thrown.
So here's the man from Dallas. Says he loves the peace and quiet, so he won't be too happy here in Dagenham. Oh, he got it. The 10 hung around, but then in slow-mo it took its tumble.
Yes, late 10 here, but the ball was worth it. Good pace. 6-pin going into the gutter, getting a kick back, and just
Torgersen. Talking about kickbacks, this fella's on the money, isn't he?
Yes, he's really looking in fine form in this tournament. Just absolutely pepper in the pocket with every shot. Now can Mike Mullin make the adjustment? The tendency to leave it light.
We're working a strike here as well. If he can get another one, the Americans could still drag themselves back into this. We're making heavy weather of this. Oh yes. Double for the USA.
That's a good shot from Mike. He needed that double badly. USA still trailing by over 30 pins. And here goes Thomas Leandersson trying to extend that lead with yet another double. Interestingly enough, I think I caught a glimpse of the ball that Thomas was using on his last shot. No. It's not one of the more current of bowling balls. It just goes to show that bowling balls aren't always dead after a very short space of time.
The 7-pin is still there. And bowlers will, I mean, we already mentioned you have the spare ball, but I mean, you know, they will change their strike ball as well, won't they?
Yes, they will, and you wouldn't see too many people playing with this ball. If it's the ball, I think it is. It looks like a blue pulse, but Thomas thinks it's right for this condition, so he's throwing it, regardless of whether it's a current bowling ball or not.
Torgersen with his spare ball. There's no problems at all. But a little sniff of an opportunity here for the Stars and Stripes. Here's Dino. Ooh, now we've had this one before.
Well, this is identical. I mean, he left this spare for Mike, and Mike slipped by it and only took the 7 out. So this is a real pressure ball for Mike. This is really going to leave the USA with a mountain to climb if he misses this.
He wanted to say a rude word there, didn't he? You could tell.
He probably did, yes.
But he's too much of a gentleman.
I like a bowler who can repeat his shots.
Mullin did just that, and he definitely wants to say a rude word.
But not when they're shots that have been repeated like those two have done. I mean, those two frames that they've thrown are just sort of like almost carbon copies of each other.
That, you feel, has probably killed off this game as far as the Americans are concerned. 2 open frames, as you say. Deja vu. Leandersson left the last one. Something to do, and he's done exactly the same again. He left the 7-pin up again. I mean, what's going on here? We're seeing history repeating itself on both sides.
This was a pretty good shot from Thomas. It's been a bit light in the pocket. Ball's made good contact with the 5, but I think you'll see the 5 go in front of the 7. There it goes.
Thinking about it, that's 7. Maybe Thomas just wants to give his buddy a bit of practice with the spare ball. Not that he needs it. Does make it look easy, doesn't he? He makes this game look so simple.
Tora going with his strike ball at this spare. It just goes to show that, you know, not all spares need to be shot with a spare ball. If it wasn't a strike ball he threw, he got an awful lot of hook for it on the spare ball, I'll tell you.
Frame 8 for the Americans. Castillo. High backswing into the pocket, never in doubt from the moment it left the fingers.
Good adjustment from Dino. Didn't want to leave another 2-7 for Mike, so made sure of getting this one up to the pocket.
But it means that the Americans still have an awful lot of work to do. Even if they are working a strike to Europe spare, they need a lot of help from Torgersen and Leandersson, who are about as unlikely to give it as you can imagine. You just watch Leandersson get a strike here. Right on cue.
That's Thomas's best ball of the game. That one was absolutely flush in the pocket. Thomas playing a lot wider than most of the players. Going out to around about second arrow there, I think. And out to around about the 5 board and back to the pocket.
Mullin gets the hook and leaves one up. And the best thing we can say about that is we get to see that interesting spare ball of Castillo's. The American football tucked away in there for the man from Dallas. But now, is he going to be Troy Aikman? Or is he going to be Clint Sterner? You know your Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks. You know the difference.
Have they got a quarterback at the moment?
Ryan Leaf. That was Troy Aikman. Right on the money. That's the look of a couple of fellows who know that this one's beyond them.
Yes.
And they'll have to face the fury of their captain, Tim Mack, who is sat in this crowd.
I can see him sat right in front of me shaking his head at the moment. I think he knows the match is over.
Well, it is now. There's Tim on the right. He's not that bad a chap, really.
No, he's a very amiable guy. Looks very, very aggressive on the lane, but exactly the opposite when you just sitting talking to him.
So here's Thomas. While it might be dead as far as the point is concerned, it's a chance to experiment for these fellas. Just see if different things are going to work on this lane. You never have a wasted ball at this level of competition, do you?
Well, you shouldn't do, but the reality is that sometimes you do let your concentration slip and not really give some balls 100%. Didn't really look like Thomas was experimenting there. Just seemed to throw pretty much the same shot, just left it a bit light. Easy spare for Torgersen.
So the European Challenge in Game 5 is over, and it's been a victorious one. Well, they were odds on to win this match. That really is the strongest European partnership. 237. The scary thing is they can bowl a lot better than that.
Interesting enough, I think this pairing was Thomas's choice as captain.
And Mike Mullin, I think, after that wonderful singles game when he bowled at 279, he's had a bit of a letdown here. It's understandable, isn't it?
Possibly, but, you know, why shouldn't he continue striking? The danger was that if USA had beaten what most people would say was Europe's strongest pair, they would have been really cock-a-hoop over it.
Yes, they would.
So it could have backfired picking that.
Here we go. The American football's back again. Into the end zone.
There was a perfect spiral on that as well.
It certainly was. But unfortunately, they threw that touchdown when the game was over, so it doesn't count.
Did you notice how the axis of rotation on that ball was actually right down the axis of the football as well? It takes a bit of skill to drill that out like that. But he's a pro shop operator, so
knows what he's doing. But this one's in the history books. Game 5 of the Weber Cup has gone the way of Torgersen and Leandersson as expected. And really, it was a fairly routine victory for them. 181 for the United States. They'll be disappointed with that. 237 gives Europe the point. They lead the Weber Cup 3-2.